Yeah.
I'm rambling just as much as Louis.
Hey, you guys. Oh, geez. Remember that show, was it the Electric Company? Was that kid show in like the 70s where they'd be like, "Hey, you guys," right? Wasn't that from the Electric Company? Or was it Zoom? Who remembers Zoom? You have to be as old as I am to remember Zoom. Somebody said, "Hey, you guys." I don't know who it was. If you know, let me know. Let me know. Comment down below. Okay, let's get this show on the road here. Hey everybody, welcome back to Books Yada Yada. I'm Dina and thank you so much for watching my channel. So today what we have is a review of Interview with the Vampire by Anne Rice. So you guys, it's my second time around reading this book after about 30 years of not reading it. I read it when I was in high school and I hung out with goth kids. I listened to a lot of Bauhaus, Cure, The Doors, and a lot of music that was just sort of very moody and very vampiric, I guess. So that was how I was feeling back then, around 30 something years ago. And rereading this book, I am no longer a goth kid or teen. I am an adult and I'm a well-seasoned adult. So after all the years that have gone by, rereading this book a second time around, it was a very different experience. So let's go ahead and get into the Goodreads. I will explain to you what that experience was, and then we're going to see what some other people thought about that as well. So let's go ahead and venture into Goodreads land.
All right, Trolley, neighborhood of make-believe.
So here we are in Goodreads land, you guys. Anne Rice's Interview with the Vampire. See that ring light? I always try to get but they never line up with my eyes. Yeah, so Interview with the Vampire. So it has a even 4-star rating on Goodreads. It has been given 495,662 ratings and 10,543 reviews. So that's pretty good, right? 4 stars is really good out of that many reviews and ratings. So what did I give it? You might be asking yourself. Well, after rereading this book, I did actually give it 3 stars. I would have gave it 4 stars when I was a teenager, but I'm not anymore, and we'll get to that in a minute. So basically, I'm just gonna really quick get to the synopsis. Most of you guys know what this book is about, right? So I'm not gonna read the whole entire thing. I'm just gonna try to explain to you guys the best that I can what this book is about. It's the story of Louis, as told in his own words, of his journey through mortal and immortal life. Louis recounts how he became a vampire at the hands of the radiant and sinister Lestat, and how he became indoctrinated unwillingly into the vampire way of life. His story ebbs and flows through the streets of New Orleans, defining crucial moments such as his discovery of the exquisite lost young child, Claudia, wanting not to hurt, but to comfort her with the last breaths of humanity he has inside. I'm going to stop there because it goes on, and this is a synopsis that is, see the source down here? AnneRice.com. So it's coming right from Anne Rice. So this is basically her synopsis of the book. So I'm just going to read you guys my review that I left on Goodreads. I actually gave it 3.5 stars. So this is what I said. I said, so I read this book for the first time when I was 17, hanging with the goth kids and wanting to change my name to Cersei or Azrael or something super gothy. I enjoyed it then. This time around, not so much. Don't get me wrong, the writing is magnificent. Rice writes with her signature gothic romanticism. However, I found I lost interest often. Louis' rambling started to drive me a little batty, pardon the pun. Yes, vampires have existential crises too. I grew so tired of him talking at great length about his incredibly complex relationship with Claudia. It was weird, for lack of a better word. I have ADHD, so a book that is almost completely dialogue with no chapter breaks is torture. Yeah, so that was my take, you guys, on this book. Rereading it after all of these years, I really did find Louis' character and his dialogue to be extremely rambly, extremely whiny, and just I kind of found him to be annoying. And it was sort of hard too, because let's talk about the movie for a minute. I remember way back when the book came out, I had read it before before the movie came out. And there was a huge uproar over the casting of Tom Cruise and Brad Pitt in this movie. Anne Rice herself was not happy about the casting of Tom Cruise at all in this movie as Lestat. He did a pretty good job though, so everybody was kind of surprised by that, and good for you, Tom Cruise, right? And I think even Anne Rice herself sort of changed her mind a little bit when she did see the finished product. And I have to say, you guys, that the movie is a lot. It really is a pretty decent adaptation of the book. You're getting more of a picture, because in the book, Louis is, like I said in my review, there are no chapter breaks. It's told in 4 parts. And it's all dialogue, although it's not told in a first-person perspective. And when you see the book, or you have the book, you know what I'm talking about, because you're going to notice that everything is in quotation marks throughout the whole book. And that's because Louis is talking throughout the whole entire book, pretty much. So his relationship with Claudia, I get it, because they're vampires, it wasn't not super controversial, but it was just a little odd, because as Claudia's growing up inside the body of a 5-year-old, because in the book she's 5, in the movie I believe Kirsten Dunst's character of Claudia was a little older than that. As she's aging and maturing, she's wanting things that Louis cannot provide her with. A whole bunch of things, different things go down. If you've seen the movie, you know what I'm talking about. Again, the movie adaptation does a pretty good job of the book. There were a few things that were a little bit different, especially with Louis's character and how and why he became a vampire, why Lestat changed him, what the circumstances were with Louis' situation. Armand in the book is described very differently than Antonio Banderas's Armand. So there's a lot of differences, and I'm doing kind of like, I guess, a book to film adaptation right now, which I didn't really want this to turn into. I wanted it to turn into more of a book review, but I knew I was going to go ahead and end up converging those two, because the book and the movie are so iconic. So I did enjoy the book, but it was a little bit, like I said, a little boring for me, and it wasn't anything new. I think rereading it, I felt like I was going to come across something new and unexpected, and I didn't. And when I was 17 or so reading this book for the first time, before seeing the movie for the first time, right? It was, it was really cool, because it was a book about vampires and sort of, getting into the feeling of being a vampire, of becoming a vampire and living the life of a vampire was very interesting to me. And it still is. So Interview with the Vampire sort of sets the template for so many other books about vampires that have come out since this book was published. It's a very different story than, say, Dracula, which is considered, the vampire story. So that was my take on it, you guys. So let's go ahead and see what some other people said. This is the fun part, right? I really hate talking about my opinion. Even though it doesn't seem like I do. I do. Okay, so let's read another 3-star review. Okay, so here's one here. This is Kat. She said, "If you would kindly look at my shelves, you might notice that I've read a good chunk of vampire novels written in the past 2 decades. It seems strange to me, though, that I still hadn't read one of the more important ones. Now, I don't think it's because this book is particularly brilliant or a masterpiece, yet it does represent an important paradigm shift in the representation of vampires in modern literature. Vampires are still unaccountably evil in this novel. They are also relatable, capable of sparking our empathy and intimate to us on a level not really seen previously to this novel. Published in 1976, it is the story of the world's most boring vampire, Louis." Thank you, Kat. Where am I looking? Thank you, Kat. Oh my God. You are amazing. This is what I should have wrote. This is what I should have said. She goes on to say, we've come a long way from the original publication of Interview with the Vampire. Previous to this novel, a story about vampires was generally a horror novel and nobody expected vampires to turn out to be the good guys. Now they are almost guaranteed to be, at the most, misunderstood. Look at our current generation of teenagers. The mom's minivan, less conformist than the bus. As far as I can see in my research, this seems to be the place where vampire empathizing began, or at least was made popular. I wanted to know if the Lost Boys, Blade, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Anita Blake, Vampire Diaries, Twilight, their existence to Interview with the Vampire, and if they've done it justice. Well, I've been searching for a vampire novel or a movie that is as much of a pop culture icon that displays tenets of vampire empathizing and which predates Interview with the Vampire, but so far my search hasn't revealed much. As far as how this novel stands up to the wealth of vampire media that followed it, well, in some respects, I think it is a vast improvement. The idea of vampires being the dark seducer isn't new, and using them to represent repressed sexuality has become stock standard. However, this book deals with two themes in a very different way. The dark seducer, Lestat, and the repressed sexual being, Claudia. Both destroy Louis in vastly different ways, and it's a nice, depressing change from the usual state of affairs. But still, on its own, it's not a fantastic book. It may have popularized vampire empathizing, but it's probably also responsible for a lot of terrible Gothic poetry. And in case you're wondering if the movie is better than the book, in this instance, yes. Though I can't say why. I'm not sure what the movie has that the book doesn't, or what makes the movie more intriguing, but it sure is something. And that's it. That's all she says. I am not going to read anybody else's review of this book because that review, you guys, in my opinion, was spot on. It was absolutely perfect. And like I said, I wish I had wrote that myself. So yeah, so that's where I'm going to leave it. That's Interview with the Vampire. Kat Kennedy, she's fantastic, and I'm actually going to start following her on Goodreads. For those of you who are interested in reading it, it was a snooze fest for me. It might not be for you. You know, I think that vampire culture, like Kat had said, depicted in, you know, obviously in fiction and in TV and film, vampire culture. Is that really a thing? Vampire empathizing, as she calls it. It's true what she says. So yeah, that's it, you guys. If you've read this book, let me know what you think of it. Let me know what kind of rating you gave it. If you gave it a 4 or a 5 or a 1, you absolutely hated it or you loved it. I know a lot of you were really looking forward to this review. And I hope I did you some justice. It is one of those books that is sort of, I think, a rite of passage, especially if you are somebody who's really into paranormal, if you're really into, you know, vampires. If you're reading it for that, then it is worth a read. Go ahead and give it a read. You know, you might find an abridged version of it somewhere and, you know, maybe do that. So let's go ahead and give it the old 3 GIF rating. I did give it 3.5, so I don't know how I'm going to do that. Do a half a second of a GIF. Is it GIF or GIF? I don't even know, you guys. All right, here we go. Roll this beautiful bean footage.
Okay, you guys, so what did you think of that, huh? I only read, you know, again, that one review. It was perfect. It was exactly what I As always, you guys, have a wonderful rest of your day. I will see you the next time.
Right, so we're going with 3.5 stars. How do I do 3.5 GIFs? Can you do half a GIF? Is it GIF or is it GIF? I don't know. Let's just do it. Yeah, I have no clue.